So, folks, when we talk about the software, it is not the same version of the software that is going to be there through the its entire lifetime. Consider some of the social media applications that we use on daily basis, be it the WhatsApps or the Instagrams or Facebooks or LinkedIn. It would have started with some X number of features, and now those features have expanded manifold or several times. But you know what it takes to maintain that particular architecture and the underlying design so that irrespective of future acquisitions or mergers or spin-offs or any other additions that get added to the software that do not get impacted. So evolvability is something which is about scaling up or scaling down dynamically without impacting the underlying functionality. It is important because even a startup that starts with two member with minimal features may scale up to a level of Amazons or Googles or Zomatos of the world. So we should always look at the broader context while planning any software. Hello, hi there. Welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the Guiding Voice for a Better Future. This podcast is to help professional students, IT employees, and entrepreneurs to shape their careers. Dear listeners, in every episode, we interact with industry experts, or leaders, or academicians, or coaches across the globe to drive some insightful conversations that will help our audience learn great things. Also, we share an interesting trivia or a fun fact about the IT world or technology towards the end. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Naveen and with my co-host Sudhakar. So as mentioned in the introduction, today we are going to discuss a very important topic, making software evolvable. And we are pleased to welcome OMKAR to our show.
A technical and business leader with consistent success with an emphasis on continuous improvement across people, processes, and engineering. OMKAR Avasarala is an electronics engineer with an MBA in marketing and systems. His passion is to create exponential impact with his influence on driving business and technology. OMKAR strives for excellence with his focus on strategic initiatives involving long-term benefits to organizations across product and people growth. With 6 years of engagement with Amazon, he has played various roles. Currently, OMKAR is leading the technology of last mile delivery service provider business that is responsible for delivering packages globally. Prior to transportation technologies, OMKAR worked extensively in third-party enterprise integration business and technologies that scale and perform at global level. Not surprisingly, OMKAR's interests include both technical and business sides, artificial intelligence, global business, automation, free cash flow, analytics, supply chain integration. In the last 25 years of my association with OMKAR, I have never seen him compromising on the perfection. No wonder he is known for his stubbornness, making him a result-oriented professional. OMKAR, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Sudhakar. Thank you, Naveen. I'm honored. Thank you for having me here. And we have an interesting topic, so I'm looking forward for the discussion.
Absolutely. OMKAR, before we get into the topic, can we talk a bit about your career journey so far?
Sure, Sudhakar. And some of it you have outlined in your introduction as well. I'm an engineering graduate in the electronics and communications, and I've done my master's in business administration. Throughout my career so far, I've been with mostly product companies, and close to my heart is innovation and customers that are very close to my heart. So I have grown in roles across companies, primarily delivering software and delivering impact to eventual customers. I started off in a company that was in insurance, primarily financial and insurance. I started as an engineer, developed code for systems that would generate premium payments and commissions for the agents. It was purely an insurance routine that I had written. And then I had moved on to companies that were purely management softwares. And for the last 6 years, I'm mostly on the e-commerce and the supply chain integration systems in large-scale enterprise. So mostly I have been across all stages of life cycle of a product evolution, starting from ideation till post-production, and then maintaining a product at scale. And close to my heart are big ideas, and close to my heart are customer behavior. That's been the secret close for my growth and role so far.
That's an amazing career journey, I would say, OMKAR.
Cool. Thank you, Sudhakar.
In the introduction, Naveen talked about the use cases of evolvability. He talked about the examples like how a two-member team can get into Amazon or Google or WhatsApp and all. So,
Right.
From your standpoint, what is evolvability and why is that so important to the businesses?
I think good question. I think this leads us to the topic very much. Evolvability is a pretty broad topic, Sudhakar and Naveen. And the example that Naveen gave of enterprises starting from a small business like a 2-member team or a 3-member team to a large-scale enterprise. This goes through multiple stages, and most often, and I can give you some of the examples and relate that to evolvability, right? The one example that Naveen gave of small enterprise going to a big one. There are enterprises that have developed architectures to deliver some business or some workflow that creates impact to customers. Later, they have disintegrated to different companies. There is a third case where companies merge to deliver a larger value to customers, or maybe use cases that are beyond these three things that we are talking about. Evolvability is the ability of the underlying technology systems. The evolvability is the ability of the underlying technology systems and the architecture that support the systems to be able to continuously deliver customer value irrespective of the business decisions within companies. I'll give you an example. For example, we three are a small enterprise today. Tomorrow, we choose to completely move out of the current business and do something like maybe selling grocery, or maybe selling apparel, or maybe coming up with a patent molecule that we'll try to simulate. We don't know. Things evolve and things change. So evolvability is about creating systems and creating technology that enables you to move at the speed of your thought process of your business. So that is precisely evolvability, and it is very important for businesses of different sizes, companies of different sizes, across different systems, to make them very nimble and grow and deliver to customers. That signifies why it is important. What if you don't do this, right? It's important because if you don't do this, you will always be an enterprise, a company that will move slowly. You will always be reacting to situations, and you cannot move at the speed, like I just mentioned. You will always be refactoring on what you did, always. And so it brings down the core essence again on which a company or an enterprise gets built, because the focus and attention of the core team has to get diverted to an engine that doesn't perform. So that's where evolvability is very important to keep any organization, any institution, any enterprise nimble as it grows and moves through different phases in its growth story. Hope that helps.
Absolutely, Omkar.
And so I'm sure Naveen and Sudhakar, with your your huge experience across different enterprises, you will relate to evolvability, because you have seen a lot of mergers and acquisitions in your career, Sudhakar, where huge infrastructures that you have managed that move. So this is important.
Absolutely. Evolvability is very much important, both on the software side of it and also under the underlying IT infrastructure as well, Omkar. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, there is a saying, right? Change is the only constant, and also with the
Correct.
change in the customer behaviors and all the software evolves. And you have rightly mentioned about those points in terms of how why the software evolvability is so important to stay relevant in the industry and to stay competitive as well, right? So, Omkar, switching gears slightly, we were researching about this topic of software evolvability, and we came across this law called Conway's law. Right. And do you think this Conway's law is still relevant in this world?
It is, Naveen. I mean, good actually. Yes, Conway's law is still relevant and applicable. To get our audience to understand, Conway's law is about states that organizations usually follow their internal communication protocols. In the sense, if we are an enterprise and we have a certain thought process and a certain way of communicating our requirements, certain way of telling the story of what we are as a company and what we deliver to our customers, our architectures, our underlying automation and underlying systems evolve exactly as per that. And this is a classic problem and it's also a sociological problem, right? Because it is tied to the thought process. And the short answer is yes, it is very much relevant, very much applicable. So as the thought process of the companies change, as the product managers, as the leadership, as the CEO's direction, as the business manager's direction changes due to the evolving things around, if the communication does not transcend, if the systems are not in place such that the communication transcends faster, and the underlying tech system doesn't change at the pace which is required, you can't grow. That's what Conway's law says. And most companies we are seeing have perished over time because they have reacted and have not been proactive to this principle of not moving and not being nimble or not having the systems to react to change faster. So yes, Conway's law is very much applicable.
Actually, this reminds me of Flipkart's Big Billion Days. When they launched it for the very first time, right? They didn't expect that unprecedented traffic. And finally, they have to give up. And at that point in time, this guy, Sachin Bansal, wrote an apology letter to all the customers and all. And they took about a week or 2 weeks time. And this time they came up with a proactive approach. So, yeah, I think it makes sense to rely on this Conway's law. Definitely, it is going to provide some guidance and throw some light around it. And how do we address this evolvability? Like, do we have any frameworks and all? Because if we look at the software design part, I can think of design patterns and the frameworks like MVC and MVP, which come into picture. Likewise, solely with respect to the evolvability, are there any frameworks that are available, and how do we address this topic?
Good question. I think fundamentally to make systems evolvable, and one thing important is to make the systems maintainable. What that means is some of the foundational architectural principles around making them modular, making them owned by a single team, refactoring systems frequently, maybe designing systems for testability. I'm talking of a bit tactical things here, but these are super important. In terms of frameworks, I also may be talking of something slightly maybe known to people, but strikingly important things I'll tell you. One is there are multiple design patterns, multiple architectures, depending on the systems that you design, but the principles of not doing things that are transient. For example, avoid transient ownership. For example, if we three are part of an enterprise, and to take an example, Sudhakar team is joining with us in a shared ownership, meaning for delivering something in a joint fashion. That team or that company may not have the same sense of ownership, same sense of accountability as Naveen and I have in this partnership. Avoid transient ownership of architectures and systems. Be having guardrails when you enter into partnerships, that your foundational architectures don't get impacted. The rest of the design patterns, the rest of the architecture evolution systems, and most of the textbooks, most of the our search engines have beaten to death. So I'll talk about avoid transient ownership. Refactor frequently, meaning refactor frequently, meaning you some portion of the investment put it for refactoring, meaning refactoring is not about fixing bugs, it is about making code further simple, making your systems further simple. Deliberately refactor. Third thing, for leaders, deliberately carve out investment for refactoring and evolvability. This is for leaders, maybe somebody people like you at a leadership strategic positions, taking portfolio decisions on investments. Deliberately invest on refactoring and evolve. I think these three are fundamental. Some of the tactical things I don't want to get into, like have testable interfaces, have modular systems. I think these all can be are very much available across. I can go into that, but primarily some of the things that are that are more, for the lack of better word, I think are more qualitative, more sociological. I don't know that's the right word, but those need to be taken into mind. And that the reason I'm so passionate about these three aspects is, I have burnt my hand in a startup that has missed this point fundamentally. We reached a state where you will not be able to scale, or your underlying things are so muddied and so rocky that it is very difficult to dice them or use them in a state where your business or the way you want to deliver customer value changes. So it's super important that you keep refactoring your code, don't entertain transient ownership, have your leadership consciously invest for refactoring or tools that help self-service, build facades that are enable automation. These are super important. I think some of these are will address evolvability. Going into the framework onto architecture patterns or design patterns that will inherently to some extent cover evolvability will be a very big topic, and that's a lot of it is available in terms of different designs or architecture patterns. That a lot of it is already available on the net. But what I'm talking to are qualitative. I don't think these are very much available.
Great points, Omkar. You picked a couple of examples wherein you said, assume that all three of us start an enterprise. And you picked an example saying that, in your startup experience, you burnt your hands. Maybe this gives us a good enough opportunity to learn from the best and ensure that all three of us start something new.
Yeah, I think the experience is wealth. Yeah.
Absolutely, it is. Coming back to that topic about experience, we talked about the disadvantages of not having this thought process of evolvability,
Right.
while planning or while in the initial life cycle of planning the software. Like, you miss the predictability, you miss the resiliency, scalability, and all the stuff.
Right.
What are the benefits of following these basic principles? Let me switch the gear and ask the other way around.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Let's bring in some positivity. What are the advantages of doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
One is speed. You can innovate faster because it's a lot of decoupled architecture enables you to create a new subsystem that delivers a newer value or a newer workflow, newer automation. That's super important. Which means the time to market, which is super important for business leaders, based on a thought and based on an opportunity, that cuts down, and that will be directly proportional to how we can spin off a newer workflow or spin off a newer feature function from an existing architecture. So speed helps directly time to market. And also second thing is engineering morale. The developer or the architect morale or the underlying the level, the people managers that are doing eventually delivering whatever in terms of systems, the through and through employee morale of your tech teams will be very high. The reason is, any creator, any developer, any creator, anybody, an engineer by definition, will cherish if they are able to get their thoughts and ideas into action. And because the underlying systems are flexible, fungible, the employee morale will be high. The advantage is that. The third thing is fixing things in production. So most companies that I have seen, of different scales, starting from an enterprise all the way up to big companies of the world, they're fixing things in production. A production issue becomes easier to fix, to reduce the impact. This is the cost of fixing an issue in production reduces if you have evolvable software. Finally, most important, you have a very happy customer, because this loop of the requirement or the need from a customer till whatever is served back to her is faster. So you have a very happy customer. That way it will spin the wheel for you. So these are some of the fundamental advantages businesses will have.
That is really important, the last point for me, because at the end, if you keep the customer in center, and a happy customer buys more stuff, and happy customer refers you to better customers as well, right? That is really good.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Omkar, I want to take you to a little past when we were in college together.
Sure.
So our generation had this privilege to go through. In our labs we used to have that mainframes and the connected dumb terminals where we used to send our floppy disks to the lab, right? Where you can actually insert it only in the central console. We had this privilege of going through that dumb terminals, central console, mainframes, 3-tier architecture, service-oriented architecture, web services, SaaS, microservices, all of that. In 22 years in professional world and 4 years in college, we have seen a lot.
Right.
So in this evolution, what is next?
Interesting question, Sudhakar. Yeah. You're now making me reflect on my age and where we are.
Our
Our
age.
age, yeah. So yeah, I think the pace of change is getting exponential, right? I think previously a generation change is 25 years now, then later a decade, then 5, and now the pace of change is faster. So we've talked about a bunch of systems and they have evolved, and the way the computing power and the applications that drive the world have changed. Very true. And what I see from here, I feel I feel I feel I feel from a technology perspective, the underlying tech that supports a lot of application world today will only get better in terms of optimization and efficiency. But to the eventual customer, what I see is two big things. I think I see voice becoming the center of a bunch of things in our daily life. So the next technical or a technology evolution I feel is voice. And we may not be doing a lot of things with typing, touch screening. All of that, in my opinion, will transcend to become voice, which means maybe the underlying systems will still be the same. Going back to our topic of evolvability, they would have refactored, they would have made it, or they would have abstractions to make the underlying systems understand voice. So that's where I feel voice may transform our world. And I also feel consumer commerce is going to also become really big. What I mean by consumer commerce is not the regular e-commerce of these big companies like Flipkarts, Amazons, Walmarts. I'm not talking of that. Consumer commerce, I feel, is going to be a pretty big business and an industry, and maybe a tech driver as well. It is like you live in a condo in Bangalore. You have a customer, you have a vendor, you have a company, everything within the same community. Somebody is producing a good or a service. You have a marketer within your community, you have a buyer in your community, you have a recommendation or a testimonial person who is doing within the same community. That kind of consumer commerce is going to evolve. That's going to be in my opinion, the new I'm finding the right word, the new brokerage industry, for the lack of better word, in the world is what I see. And more so that might evolve in countries like us. So yeah, I think voice, and maybe there may be more, but I feel from a tech world, systems will evolve to that. From a business world, I think consumer commerce may evolve.
Yeah, consumer commerce might be a boon for the consumers because of heavy competition, the prices might come down, and everybody strives for a better quality.
Very true, Naveen. Yeah.
Yeah. And talking about this voice, that makes me scary actually, because we have become lazy already. We'll become further lazy, right? With smart home automation, you are trying to give commands through voice, right? And you'll ask your Alexa or your Siri saying that, hey, turn off the light or turn on the light, read me the news and all. You don't have to really stand also. Just lie on your couch and get everything through your voice instruction. So that is something exciting and scary at the same time. So
right.
OMKAR, I think, yeah, we have been talking a lot of serious stuff, talking about evolving the software, so on and so forth. Let us try to spice up this conversation. And are you ready for a quick rapid fire round?
Sure. Yeah, why not? Let's do it.
Wonderful. So I'm going to ask you quick questions, and probably you can answer them very briefly, probably in one word. All sure. Right. So we'll get started with the rapid fire round. Here comes the very first question, OMKAR. What's your favorite movie?
Any language, or you have?
Probably since you can tell about your English and then Telugu.
I like on the Hindi movies. I like my all-time still, and no, I also like Nuvustanante Nenodantana. I don't know if you guys know. It's a Telugu movie. I like that. I have a few other movies that I'm not able to recollect, but these two come to my mind because I like those. And one good part with movies, I see and appreciate a lot of non-Telugu, non-Hindi, non-English movies. A lot of other language movies. So I can't recollect the names, but these two are my favorite.
Let's go to the next one.
Sure.
What is the best business advice you have ever given to someone?
Oh yeah, I build a core team. I would have told this multiple times. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, that's important.
If you have failed to
That's
build a core
important because
team,
without
yeah, that's it. Yeah, build a
agreed.
core team.
Yeah. Here comes the third bullet in the rapid fire. Like, what is the best compliment that you have ever received, Omkar?
The multiple times I've received this compliment that I overcommit but still deliver. I don't know whether it's a compliment or people have tried to give me feedback that you're unnecessarily overcommitting. Yeah, but I have now started, instead of too much being self-critical, I have taken that as a compliment.
Probably the business might be getting benefited. Yeah.
Probably yes. Yeah, but
Okay. Good going. Yeah.
Sure.
Good going so far. Yeah. Here comes the fourth one. What is your first phone?
Nokia. I don't
Which
remember
model?
the model. Sorry, I don't remember the models.
Okay.
I don't remember the model.
No
Sorry.
problem. Yeah. We'll go to the next one. Like, what do you like most in an individual?
Integrity. Integrity. No.
Awesome.
Non-negotiable. Integrity is non-negotiable.
Awesome. Yeah. Here comes the last one for the rapid fire. Like, what is your passion other than your day job?
I think coaching is I like to coach. Not in the serious coaching in this professional world. I like to coach cricket. So cricket coaching is something that I really, really like. Gardening is my passion. The last thing, maybe I'm not ranking them, but third thing is also mentoring and coaching, like these things. These are my passions outside of my day job.
Amazing. Thank you, Omkar. Like, this has been a great rapid fire round. And over to you, Sudhakar.
Thank you, Naveen. So Omkar, when he talked about coaching in cricket, it reminded me of the cricket matches that we used to play way back in 97 and 98.
Right.
Electronics versus computer science games. Seems like ages back, man. Like you said,
Yeah,
Omkar, it reminds us that, we are no more young.
True. I'm
Excellent.
still now playing with my son, so I'm still keeping that close to my heart.
So Omkar, one final question for this session.
Sure.
What is your one piece of advice to those aspiring to make big in their careers like you?
Career is something that is to be driven by the individual. So you own your career. So firstly, seed that in the minds very firmly that you are the primary driver for your own career. So which means you have to be inquisitive about it. You have to be vocally self-critical to know what are your strengths, weaknesses, and where you can go. That is fundamental. Secondly, I would suggest all the ones that are still in the early stages of a career to be more bold and take risks. So what do I mean by that? If you feel strongly passionate about something, do experimentation in life early. Like if you are passionate about artificial intelligence, don't think around and do a lot of analysis. Go ahead and learn and get insights about it. If you're strongly feeling passionate about a business idea, vet it, go ahead and try and do it. Early failures are better. Lastly, what I would suggest is have a role model, and if possible, keep talking to them, or somebody who can be on those role model lines. If the role model is too far away for reach, at least somebody who can help you, guide you to get there. So I think these three are important for career.
Excellent. Be bold and have a role model. Amazing. Omkar, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, and thanks for joining us today. It was indeed great to talk to you about this intriguing topic of making software evolvable. And the earlier in life cycle you do that, the better for you, because once it gets multifold, you don't need to redo the things, and focus more on your growth aspect. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you taking time for us.
Thank you, Naveen and Sudhakar. I think you guys are doing a great job with this TGV. I think a lot of people would get benefited. The smart thing is to learn from others, and you're doing that for everyone. So you keep doing the great job, guys. And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, and it was a pleasure hosting you, Omkar. All right, folks. So it brings us to the trivia segment of today's episode. And today's trivia is about Apple co-founder. Do you know who is the third co-founder of Apple? Many of us think it's only Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, but there is a third person. You may want to think, but let me reveal the answer. Ronald Wayne Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, all of them have started this Apple in April 1976 to develop and sell Wozniak's Apple I personal computer. However, Wayne has sold his share back to Jobs and Wozniak within 12 days. Interesting, isn't it? Thank you for listening. There's more in store, folks. Stay tuned. Take care. Be safe. Until next time. Bye-bye. And we are signing off for today. See you all in the next episode.